Welcome in. It is quick kick around the pitch. Group A and B have been previewed. Group C and D have been previewed. It is time for our final group stage preview, and that is Groups E and F. We have Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine in Group E. And in Group F, we have Turkey, Georgia, Portugal, and Czechia. Both groups, I think, quite interesting. I think Group F is more interesting than Group E, but I think both of them have their own little ways of figuring things out. So let's just get straight into it. Let's start off with Group E, and we're going to start off at the top with Belgium. This is a team that is in transition right now. The golden generation mostly gone now. They are looking at the future now. They're starting to trust some of the academy. Well, I guess it's not technically academy, but it's trusting the youth. The youth are living up to those expectations, and this Belgium team has that. It's a team in transition between generations right now. The biggest story coming out of this Belgium team is Thibaut Courtois not being called up into this squad. So you are going to have an inexperienced goalkeeper no matter who you start for Belgium. Of course, Courtois has been part of this team forever. He started in the Champions League final, but there are major rifts between him and Domenico Tedesco, the manager. He, of course, replaces Roberto Martinez, who left after the World Cup. But this team, like I said, they still got a few pieces left of that golden generation, like Romelu Lukaku. You can throw in De Bruyne there. You can throw in Carrasco. Jan Vertonghen, he's still in there. Axel Witsel, he's still in there. This team, it still has good talent, especially when you do start mixing it in with the younger players like Doku. You start mixing in with like Opienda, the De Ketelaere. There's just a lot of talent in this Belgium team. I'm expecting them to top the group. I think that should at least be the goal, and at least getting to a quarterfinal should be the minimum goal for Belgium. So given that, let's take a look at my projected starting 11 for this Belgium team. I have Keon Casteels starting in net. Like I said, no matter what, you're getting an inexperienced goalkeeper in net for Belgium. And I, of course, say inexperienced. I mean in the international game. All these players have quite a lot of experience just to be here. So I'm expecting it to be Casteels to get the start. Truly, it could be him. It could not be him. I don't know. We move on to our back four in this 4-3-3. I have Kasange, Faze, Vertonghen, and Terte. I mean, Vertonghen has been here forever, and it feels like he's going to be on this team until the day he retires, which it's probably coming sooner rather than later given his age, but he's still playing at a high level. So, I mean, truly anything can be possible here. I'm expecting him, I'm not going to say to have a breakout tournament, but I expect him to be one of the reasons that Belgium advances if they do. We get up to the midfield, and this is where I kind of like the balance of youth and experience, because you have De Bruyne in there, you have Malagana in there, and then you have Onana, he's from Everton, the midfielder. I really like how he's starting to develop, putting him up there with De Bruyne. I think that's a good matchup. Then you get up to the top three. Once again, I think it's a nice mix of experience and youth. You have Doku, that's your youth. You have Lukaku, who is your experience. And then you have Trossard, who is kind of in the middle there. Like, he's not youth, but he's also not like fully experienced. I think this team could be very good at this tournament. I think it all kind of just depends on who they draw and how that works out, because they're most likely making it out of the group. Past that, though, it always becomes, it's one or done. So anything could truly happen in knockout play. And this team on paper looks quite good. I can say that fully. This team looks quite good on paper, and I'm excited to watch what they do in this group because I think they've been given a favorable group that they can figure some things out in the beginning, not drop a game and worry about being out. I think they'll be fine. I like their chances in this tournament. So given that, now that we've talked about Belgium, let's move on to our next team in this group, Group E, and that is Slovakia. They have qualified for their third straight Euro. I mean, it's a big feat given that their first Euro was 3 tournaments ago. So, I mean, that was 2016. I think they got a good balance of youth. They do lean more on the youth side than they do the experience. And it does feel like this is the coming of a golden generation for them as all their top players are starting to get to that level of, very experienced both in the club game and international game. This team, even though they play a 4-3-3, they like to sit it back, but it's their tactical discipline that I think is going to really help them in this tournament. They like to adapt a lot. They can sit back. They can go on the attack. They have the types of players to do that. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they go up against a team like Belgium. But also when you go up a team like Romania, that's another team that just loves to sit back. Who blinks first, basically? Who goes on that front foot in that game? I think it's going to be real interesting to see if Slovakia is the team that does that, or if they kind of lure Romania into that kind of attacking position and Slovakia takes up the counterattack. But you kind of see what I'm saying. This team, they got a nice mix, like I said. I don't know how far they go past the group stage if they get out. I think they'll get out. It's just a real question of how far does the Slovakia team go? Because I truly don't think it's that far. So given that, let's take a look at my projected starting 11 for them. Like I said, 4-3-3, even though they like to sit back a little bit more, kind of lure players in to attacking of the opponents and then strike on the counterattack. I have Dubarva, the goalkeeper. He's from Newcastle. Your back four, I have Perikic, Varvo, Skriniar, and Hanko. That's pretty much feels like that's set as your back four. That is what they've rolled with most of qualifying. That is their back four. That is set. You move up to your midfield. I have Kuka in the defensive midfield position, Labadka and Duda. I think both are very good players. I'm excited to see how they play on this stage once again. And then once you get to your top three, I think this is where, some debate could happen because I think you could throw in a few different players in here. But I have Suslov at the left wing, Boznik in the striker position, Harslan in the right wing position. I think any of those are kind of interchangeable. I think you could throw Skrans in there too. The Slovakia front three, I think, would be my most worrying for this team because their weakness is scoring goals. I mean, Boznik, he basically averages 1 goal every other game in the club game. Now, of course, club game and international game, 2 completely different things. So it truly could be either way. I would worry about scoring goals just because they like to sit back a lot and you may not get many counterattacking opportunities. And that does worry me a little bit about this Slovakia team. So given that, we've taken a look at 2 teams in this group. Let's go for a third, and that team is Romania. Romania qualified for the Euro for the first time since 2016 when they had a lackluster performance. It was very forgettable. Let's just say that. It was very, very forgettable. That team was not great. And yet, they missed Euro 2020, kind of rebuilt from that. Now here we are. They're back for Euro 24. A lot of their players are in that, 25 to 29 age range. So that does help. You got like players right at the peak of their, careers right now going into this Euro. There's a lot of players here that truly I haven't seen a ton of. So that might throw off my starting 11 just a bit. But I mean, watching through, some of the highlights, I mean, they're very good at defending. I got to give them that. They are very good at defending. Radu Dragusin has been huge for this team. Of course, now he plays for Tottenham. He's very young. He looks very good. I'm excited to see where he goes. You got Nelikarlu, the Palermo player. He's kind of been, one of those players you see off the bench a bit, but he does kind of play a few good positions. I'm interested to see what they do with him at this tournament. Truly, I'm going to be interested to see what Edward Iondrascu does. The manager, this is his, first major tournament that he's going to manage. And, it does seem like he has a bit more of a conservative play style when he's approached with those type of things where you need to make like split-second decisions and you need to change your tactics quick because you're down or have a good opportunity. Is he going to be the one to do that? That's going to be interesting to see what they can do in that situation, just because sometimes you just need experience with that. And if you don't have the experience, it's not going to go well. So going to be interesting to see how that plays out for Romania. Let's take a look at the starting 11 I've picked out. Again, this might be a bit thrown off. I haven't seen a lot of these players play. But I have Nita in net, Raditu, Rakovan, Dragusin, and Banku as your back four. Your midfield, I have both of the Marins in there, I should say, and Stangiku. And then up top in the top three, I have Mihala, Puskas, and Man. I really like Man. He's really developing into a quite good player. I'm excited to see what he does on this stage. If he makes an impression on some, clubs, you never know. It should be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I mean, the stronghold of this team is going to be that back line, and it's probably going to all lean on Dragusin. I would not be surprised by that at all if it is Dragusin leading this back line for Romania. So, well, we made it through 3 teams in Group E. Let's take a look at the last one, and they were the one that had to go through the qualifier just to qualify for this, or playoff, I should say, because everybody went through a qualifier. Ukraine went through a playoff to get here. And here they are, Euro 2024. This is their 4th straight Euro. They got grouped in 2012 and 2016. They made the quarterfinal 2020. They're, of course, looking to get back there and maybe do even better this time. This team, they came from behind in both of their playoff games, and it really showed the character of this team. It's a never quit, never say die type attitude with this Ukraine team. It seems like ever since they failed to qualify for the World Cup in 2022, they went through the playoff that time too. They knew that they had to find a way to get through without the playoffs this time. And of course, that didn't happen. They made it through the playoff. But it seemed like the experience they had from the 2022 World Cup qualifying, helped them in this qualifying, that inspiration, all that. It felt like they figured things out. They obviously got here. It's going to be very interesting to see how they play at this tournament. They have a very, balanced squad. So you're not going to see a team that is like all out on the attack and has a horrible back line, or a team that has an outstanding back line and no attack. This team's very balanced. So I'm going to be interested to see how it plays out. I am a little bit more, if I had to pick the one I'm worried about, I'm more worried about the defense, the back line. I think they're a little too inexperienced, and that does worry me. But, you still got some very good players in this team. You got Zinchenko, you got Murduk, you got Yarmolenko, who's still playing at 34, even though he'll probably be coming off the bench in this tournament. You have Zabrini, the 21-year-old Bournemouth player. I feel like the back line is probably going to depend a lot on him, and I feel like that's a lot of pressure to put on a 21-year-old. And then you have Lunin, the goalkeeper from Real Madrid, basically got them to the Champions League final and then was benched in the final for Courtois because Lunin had the flu or something like that. I think he's going to be a big factor for Ukraine in this Euro. So given that you've taken a look at the squad, let's take a look at my projected starting 11. And I'm, again, no real surprise. The guy that led Real Madrid to the Champions League final, Lunin, is my starting goalkeeper here. My back line is Konoplaya, Zabrini, Militevo, and Minkolenko. Again, I feel like you're going to put a lot of pressure on Zabrini here, and that does worry me. 21 years old, not a ton of experience at this level, does worry me a little bit. Your midfield, I have Sudakov, Zinchenko, and Stefanenko. I think that's a very strong midfield that they got there. They're going to need Zinchenko to step up. I think that's a big thing in this tournament. They're going to need him to step up. They're also going to need Murduk to step up too, and then he is on the right wing. You got Dovbrik in the striker position and Tisganagov in your left wing position. So, taking a look at the schedule for Group E, you have Romania and Ukraine kicking it off on Monday, June 17th at 9 a.m. They are the first game of the group stage for this group. Belgium, Slovakia follow it up at noon Eastern time on that Monday. We move on to match day 2 in this group. You're going to have Slovakia and Ukraine playing at 9 a.m. on Friday, June 21st. And on Saturday, June 22nd, you're going to have Belgium, Romania at 3 p.m. Eastern. And we move on to match day 3. Slovakia, Romania at noon Eastern, Ukraine, Belgium at the exact same time, because those group games always finish at the same time. Given that, we only have one more group to go, and that is Group F. Group F, I think, has some really interesting faces in here. You got Turkey, the dark horses from 2020 that just completely just sucked in that tournament, that didn't make it out of the group. You have Portugal, a team that's probably chasing a Euro one last time for Ronaldo. You have a Czech Republic team that I think there's just not enough info on. And then, of course, you have Georgia in there in their first ever Euro, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for them. So let's get into it. Let's look at Turkey first. I mean, I've already said my biggest worry with this team is I believed in them in 2020, and they let me down big time. I'm worried about it possibly happening again. Now, I think they got a little bit better of a group this time than they did in 2020. I think they got a little bit more favorable path. They got more experience. But it does seem the higher the expectations get for Turkey, the bigger the collapse it is for them. I think that was very evident in 2020, 2021 technically, because that's when the tournament happened. But I'm just worried that this team is going to have a lot of expectations on them, and it's just not going to work out. And it's just going to be 2020 all over again, and we're going to be asking, why did we believe in this team again? Because they just didn't look good. I mean, for them, it's either triumph or disaster for this team. I don't think there's an in-between. It is going to either be the greatest month of Turkey football in, decades, or it's going to be just a complete disaster once again, just like it was in 2020. So given that, let's take a look at my projected starting 11. They run a 4-2-3-1. So we've been seeing a lot of 4-3-3s today. We get a 4-2-3-1 here. I have Kekir in goal. I have Silic, Demiral, Kabak, and Ozkabar. I got them as your back four. I have Ozken and Koku as your defensive midfielders. I have Yildiz, Kalinagu, and Alatergu, and then Tosdun up front. I think there can be a lot of debate on who that player up front is. I mean, I could see it being like Yildiz. I could see it being Yamaz. There's a few other players in there I think it could be. I still think it's going to be Tolson. That's just the feeling I kind of have, that it's going to be him for this tournament. But this Turkey team is out to prove all the doubters wrong, which basically includes myself, because I don't have much faith in this team at all, because they let me down in Euro 2020. It's as simple as that. They let me down in 2020. I'm not expecting them to go far again. So let's move up and move in to the second team in Group F, and that is Georgia, the team that has qualified for their first ever Euro. They joined UEFA in 1992. They barely missed out in 2020. They lost to North Macedonia in a playoff final. They finally make it here. And it does feel like it's kind of just a happy to be here moment. I mean, if you look at the squad, there aren't a ton of, top 5 leagues in there. You got a lot of, mixed in teams like Slovan Bratislava, Shakhtar Donetsk, Karabag, Leviton, Dynamo Batumi. You got a lot of those mixed in there. If you're Georgia, you have to learn to fight with the big boys now. Because for them, yes, it is technically an easier group-ish. Still, though, this team, you still got to learn to punch up, because you're going against Turkey game 1. Now, yes, you don't have Portugal until game 3, and Portugal could be through and done with the tournament by then for themselves. But, I mean, these 3 teams, they are not going to be easy teams to play with. I know that they play defensively football. They play a 3-5-2. They're going to sit back. They're going to try to lure in a counterattack where you get Kvaratskhelia, the Napoli player, just to get on some type of attack. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him this summer, and that does worry me a bit for him. I mean, you got Marmela Chevalier. Again, this is another team. I'm probably butchering all these names, I'm going to be honest. But the Valencia goalkeeper, he is going to have a very interesting summer, because I think this could open the eyes of some club teams of how good he could possibly be. I know he's at Valencia, but this could be a move to a bigger club if he does well in this tournament. This team, it's just, I don't think they have like the talent-wise and experience to go anywhere in this tournament. I think their goal should be a win. If they win in a game, I think that is a huge win for them. Do I think it can happen? It's going to take a little bit of a miracle, but I do think there's a possibility at least of them at least getting a win. So given that, we're going to go on to the projected starting 11 from me. I really don't even want to try with these names because I know I'm going to butcher them. So I already, yeah, this is going to be a ride. It's going to be one of the rides of all time trying to get through these names. Mama Deshavi, the goalkeeper. Kazabade is going to be your right wing back. Curvelia, Kasha, and Deval is going to be your midfield. Shengala is your left wing back. Chadizavle, that's going to be one of your midfielders. Kurviskili, Korkoshalvi. Again, I am butchering these so bad and I already know it. Those are your other two midfielders. Zavad, it's going to be one of your strikers. And Carvashelia is your other striker. Again, I know 100% that I just butchered every single one of those names. And I do apologize to the people of Georgia that are potentially watching this, that I butchered your team's name. I have a lot of respect for them. I just am bad at pronunciating names. So I'm sorry. We'll move on. We'll move on to Portugal, the 2016 champions. Of course, the one name on here, of course, that everybody knows, Cristiano Ronaldo, at the age of 39, still the most caps in Portuguese history, the most goals in international play ever. Comes in, possibly one final dance. I still think he ends up playing in the World Cup in 2026, but last dance for the Euros, which is where he got his first international trophy. Listen, this team is very good. I think they have a lot of good talent, and I think they have a very good shot of at least making it to the semifinals. I think it would take a minor miracle for them not to. If they don't, though, I think a lot of it would be on the mental aspect of the game. I think that is something they've struggled with the past few years. I saw it in Euro 2020. I saw it in the World Cup in 2022. I think it's something they struggle with a bit. This team, I think they got a lot of good talent. I mean, you got Pedro Neto, Leao, Diogo Jota, Joao Felix, Bernardo Silva. That's just your forwards in this team, and that's not even including Gonzalo Ramos or Ronaldo. You get to your midfield, you got Bruno Fernandes, you got Joao Neves, Ruben Neves. In your defenders, you still have Pepe, the 41-year-old Pepe, who, of course, if you were to basically World Cup 2018, if you were watching SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt, Pepe still diving. Pepe is still diving at the age of 41. What can I say? This team, they have the talent to make it to the final. The question is, will they actually? Because I think there's a lot of factors still at play. Roberto Martinez still has a little bit of the choke factor on his name, and I think that is a little bit worrying. So let's take a look at my projected starting 11 for this just absolutely stacked team. I have Costa in net. I think he's your best choice. It really couldn't be any of those. I think all three of them are good. I just think Costa is the one. Dalot, Diaz, Canio, and Cancelo are my back four. That is a very, very strong back four, if you ask me. Palhinha, I have him as a defensive midfielder here. Venita and Fernandes, I have as your central midfielders. And then Silvia, Ronaldo, and Leal are your top three. And that is just a absolutely dangerous top three that I don't think many teams want to see coming at them in this tournament. One more team to go. We have reached team 24 out of 24 to preview, and that team is Czechia, the technically 1976 champions. Of course, it was not Czechia that won it. It was Czechoslovakia that won that tournament. But they are looking basically to a return of that greatness. Now, do I see that happening in this tournament? Probably not. They're looking to return to the 76 when they won the tournament, look to return to 1996 when they were a finalist, lost to Germany in the final. I don't think that this is it, but hey, this tournament does present wild opportunities for some teams. This team, their defense, absolutely outstanding. I love the way their defense plays. Now, you do see a lot of Slavia Prague and Sparta Prague mixed in here. Yes, a lot of their players play for two clubs. And I think that actually kind of works to their advantage here because they've played together a while. I think that really does help them in this tournament. I mean, their team is very disciplined. I'm not expecting them to shatter the world because they do lack creativity in the wide areas, but I still think this Czechia team can be carried by their defense, probably to a quarterfinal appearance. Probably not farther than that, but I mean, who knows? Again, this tournament creates chaos sometimes, but I'm excited to see where this Czechia team goes. I think that they're kind of a shoe-in as one of the top two in this group, but I think Turkey would have something to say about that. I think Czechia wants to more prove that they can get back to those levels that they were at 1996 when they made the final. So for one final time, let's take a look at my projected starting 11 here for Czechia. They run it's a mix of a 5-3-2-ish. It can sometimes go to a 3-4-3-ish. Again, it's a little bit of an ish here for Czechia. They sometimes throw in a 4-2-3-1. You never know what Ivan Hasek is going to do with this managerial team. I have Stanek in net. I think he's your best goalkeeper that they have. I expect him to be there. Zima, Krejci, and Holes, I expect them to be your back three. I think Kofal could possibly move in there instead of being in the right wing back position. I expect him to be in that right wing back position though, and Dudera in the left wing back. I think he could also possibly be moved into one of those central backs. Midfield, you got Sedlik and Susek. Susek is your captain. He is one of your most experienced players here. He's a great player at West Ham. I'm expecting a big tournament from him here because he just has experience. He's going to be the one leading this team. Pravod, I have as your attacking midfielder, and then as your two up front, I have Stick and Holzgek as your top two. With them, it's going to have to be a partnership here for them because, like I said, they kind of lack creativity in the wide areas, and they're going to need to do some creative things just to get past some of these teams they play. So let's take a look at the schedule for this group. Match day 1, Tuesday, June 18th. They have the day to themselves. Turkey, Georgia, kick it off at noon Eastern time. Portugal, Czechia follows it up at 3 p.m. Eastern time for match day 1. Match day 2 is on Saturday, June 22nd. Georgia, Czechia kick off the day at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Turkey and Portugal kick off at 12 p.m. Eastern, so high noon. And then to close it out, the final group stage games of this tournament, Czechia, Turkey, and Georgia, Portugal, both kick off at 3 p.m. on the final day of the group stage in Germany. So that is going to wrap it up. That is all your group stage previews. If you want to see A and B, if you want to see C and D, just go back, click, the name, go look at the previous videos. They're going to be there. But yeah, so that is all 24 teams previewed for this Euro. Tomorrow, my official predictions for Euro 2024 will be released. I'm excited to find out what I do here because I truly don't even know right now who I'm picking to win this tournament. It's going to be quite an interesting task, me figuring out who I am going to pick. So that is going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you just stumbled across this video, click like, click subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. Back again tomorrow for a preview. And after tomorrow's episode, just think about it. It starts on Friday. Germany, Scotland. Then we got 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday, 3 games Monday, then 2 games Tuesday. The football is almost here. So thank you so much for watching. And we will see you again very soon, probably in less than 24 hours, for another episode of Quick Kick Around the Pitch.